Welcome to Royally Unhinged, the podcast where we talk all things networking, marketing, and wizardry. It's everything you needed to know and everything you didn't know you needed to know. I'm one of your co-hosts, Princess Paula, along with my lovely co-host,
Tara B.
And together we are Royally Unhinged. Okay, so we're still here live at the Woodbury Expo. We love coming here. It's absolutely amazing. If you've never been to an expo, go check out expos. If you're like my husband, have no clue what an expo is, just follow us around and you'll figure it out.
That works.
So we are interviewing all different folks today, amazing folks that have sponsored our podcast. Thank you. Without you, we would be nothing. And we're super excited today because we're just going to be able to sit back. He is going to have no shortage of words.
Wait, who is this
to
here?
share. Oh, I get to introduce you to Tim Voit. And I was thinking, Tim, I was like, do you want to be known more from the legal shield side or from your networking, or are you in witness protection? Like,
Sure. Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because after you do this for a while and you talk to people, so one day somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, you met with so-and-so, and they had a lovely conversation, but they have no idea what you do."
I love that.
Right? And so I said, from there on, I'm, the legal shield guy. But I'm also, the person that is here to help all the Midwest people understand, or Minnesota people, really understand that, going on and meeting people, the word networking, right? Building communities is really what needs to be done. And so I kind of, been doing a lot of that. So
the networking guy. Okay, he led us down the path. We're gonna go there. So you mentioned, because we are in the Midwest, if you're watching or listening. So what have you noticed makes Midwesterners unique when it comes to networking or not networking?
Well, I tell everybody, I've lived in Minnesota all my life. I grew up here. Very Minnesota family, but I'm not a Minnesotan.
Okay.
Okay. So what that means is, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
So Minnesota people are known for having large friends and family, right? And so when people come here and meet them, they go, "You're very nice people, but you never invite us over for dinner." Right? One is because there's no room on the dance card, because we got birthdays, we got cousins, we got, relatives, and all that's going on. So there's no reason to add more people to the network, right? And then the other problem is we grew up in cultures of Scandinavian, German, Italian. So we're very much do-it-yourselfers and don't ask for help. So you can kind of see where I'm going?
I feel seen. I feel called out.
So when you talk to people here about networking, they're like, I really don't like that. Not good at it, not comfortable. Yeah, it's something I don't do. But when you now are a business owner or you're in job transition, right? One thing that's never, ever going to change, you got to have other people help you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell a little bit of the backstory, because if somebody's just watching or listening and they're like, who's this guy and why is he here? How did he end up? So
He's Mr. Woodbury from what I've
he is Mr. Woodbury. That is true. That is an appropriate title. But I met him a couple of years ago.
3 years
My
ago.
business is almost 2 years. Yeah.
3 years.
And so I don't even know. Was it at a networking meeting?
You were a part of the Woodbury Chamber at the time.
Okay, that's
and
right.
I just joined the chamber, and you were.
And we met maybe someone might have even told me that I should talk to you or meet you. And I want you to share, because one of the first things, it was really rather profound when I met Tim, because I thought that the way I go through life is how everyone goes through life.
Yeah,
and everyone's like me until we sat
Naturally.
down. And what's one of the first things that you said to me?
So you, I know I said, you do understand we do speak a different language. She's like, you know that language?
But I was even just like, wait, what?
Yeah. So I told her, I said, you probably don't even really understand who you are.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're connecting dots, and then you can kind of see what it looks like, right? And most people don't do that.
I thought he was the first one to really call that or point that out, not call it out, point it out. Because I was like, everyone goes through life networking like this and loving everyone they meet. And he was like, Paula, we're of a different breed.
We're creative thinkers, I call us.
And I just kind of went, wait, what? And he's like, you realize that not everyone's like us. And I just sat and stared at him and was like, really?
So do you want to know a secret?
Do tell.
I hate networking.
Well, yeah, you and everybody else. But you have never come to my network event. Then you would not hate networking.
Oh,
I got called out.
that's this whole episode. It's just going to be like,
Well, this is all done because...
wait, she comes to networking events with me, which are quite lovely.
Well, if you're her sidekick, I mean, she does all the talking, right?
She's my wingman, wing woman, winger,
Wing lady.
Wing lady. Ring ding.
Ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we just love it. Like, that's one of the things I think you and I just sat together and we're just waxed poetically of how much we love networking.
Well, and I, with Paula, I could see like, well, here's who you are.
Yeah.
And here's what you do, and this is why you do it. Because I didn't know why this happened to me and why I did what I did until I kind of went out and listened to people and they said stuff, and I'm like, oh, really? Well, because when you work in a corporate setting, you can't be yourself, right? And you can't be in a giver world.
Yeah.
It's a taker world. So yeah, a lot of this was, but when I met her, I go, you really don't because he was saying some stuff she wanted to do. I said, well, go do it. And she was like, and she said,
I was too chicken.
Too chicken. I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if you go do what you're going to do.
Okay, yeah, you're getting like
This
the back.
is your nexus.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, literally, we sat there. He was like, "So go start a business," and I was like, "I can't
Go be
do
a
that."
speaker. Go be a speaker.
Yeah,
Go do it.
and I.
What have
Like,
you
he
got
was
for
one of the first people to just see it and was like, "This is what you're gonna go and do," and I was like,
That is awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
And the other thing I told Paula too is, we like her because she's not one of us. Right?
One of us. Not one
Well,
of
I mean,
us.
she's not like a true Minnesotan, right?
Yeah.
We're all caught up
Okay,
in.
wait. Sorry, I'm going to interject. Duck, duck, goose or duck, duck, gray duck?
"Yes."
Okay.
Oh,
We just had that. We were just talking about this on an episode.
Who was?
We were.
We were.
Oh,
So what? Where do you?
Someone asked.
Where do you land?
whatever the Minnesota version is.
Duck, duck, gray duck.
Yeah,
Boom. No. What? Where are you from?
Minnesota.
He just said that.
Well, yeah, but he didn't know which one he would choose. So,
But he knew it was a thing.
okay. So
That
backtrack for a
counts.
minute. That is one of the things that I appreciate about you, is that when you meet with people, and you meet with a lot of people,
Yeah.
that you can kind of see things in them and you'll call it out, like in the positive way. You'll
Yeah.
kind of say, "This is what I see in you. This is what you should consider,"
Yeah.
which is so good. And not because you have anything to gain by it, not because you're a recruiter or you're trying
Right.
to. It's just because you see it in people, and that's the value that you're bringing.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Just make those authentic connection, right?
Yeah.
Because most of the time I'm meeting with strangers, and by the time in the hour we're done, we're probably,
BFFs.
friends, or sometimes it is, and because it's about them, right?
Yeah.
I'm asking them questions, I'm listening, and then sometimes I'll go, hey, can I kind of tell you what I heard?
Yeah.
And they, I say it, then they kind of go, you're not the first one to say that.
When you
right?
say that, what you heard, like what you hear when you're talking to them as you're listening.
So it's kind of reading between the lines.
Yeah.
They're saying, they're saying, yeah, I was, they tell me where they've been, what they're doing,
Yeah.
where they kind of want to go. But then I hear things like, I want to help people. I want to collaborate. I want to control. I want more time and freedom, right? And then they say they want to go back, find a job or something. And I said, can I really tell you what I just heard from you? Here's what I think you really want to do. And they're like, yeah, but that's hard. Or that's risky.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, but isn't life too short to not do what you're supposed to do?
So is.
He does
Right?
a little Jedi mind trick on them.
Oh, I love that. He uses the
Oh,
force.
I know. Oh, I tell everybody, because I grew up in a very Minnesota family,
Yeah.
I know how to deal with them. And you can't be direct.
Okay, I might need to go and sit down and talk with you because
Right?
I don't know how to deal with my family.
Right. Yeah. That's
Well, that's a whole other thing. But being there, I mean, so they're very secretive.
Yeah.
Minnesota people, their friends are who they went to high school or grade school with, right? And that's you can be 60 years old. And that's who your friends are yet, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a whole different. If you understand who they are, you can meet them where they're at,
Yeah.
right?
okay. There's so much I want to unpack because you have been dropping breadcrumbs all along so far in just a few minutes we've been chatting. So rewind, and you talked about your networking group that Tara has never been to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so tell us a little bit about that. Why it started, when it started, why you love it.
Yeah. Well, I tell everybody I'm a problem seeker. Isn't everybody a problem seeker? Don't you go out
I
and find
never
problems?
look for the problems, but I
Yeah.
cause them.
Well, think about it. Why don't you go find problems that you can make a difference at,
Yeah.
right? So everybody coming in in the pandemic, and I go, do you network? And people would go, oh no. And then I go, why? Well, most of the places they know each other. They're not very open. I don't enjoy it, feel comfortable, blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
I tell everybody, well, here's your problem. If you're not having fun, it's not working.
There it is.
But here's the problem. Let's go back to, I can't tell anybody how to do this, but I could have an event where they would experience it, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you deal with the Minnesota people, because they're terrible FOMOs.
This was gonna be fun. Truth.
So let's talk about that a little bit more. So the fear of missing out. So I'm going to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Right. So my thing was I'm going to create the best networking experience you'll ever have here in the Twin Cities. Do it every month. Every time you come, there'll be brand new people, and you'll have the wow factor. Isn't that kind of like the ideal? And it's for the introverts.
Oh, you already led me down the line. In the back of my head, I'm like, you have to have that conversation. Okay, we're going off the rails. Pause. Hold that thought. We're going off the rails.
Rewind, reverse.
Because
Here we go.
I wanted to actually, in this moment, talk about, because you and I are not introverts. What does that look like for you? Because I'm so attuned now to the introverts in the room. So what are you doing for the introverts? How
Yeah.
are you aware of them?
I am an introvert.
Yeah. So remember I told you about all those problems
Yeah.
that they didn't like. So the event would have none of the things they didn't like.
Such as?
Everything, no agenda,
Okay.
no group of people that know
All
each other.
structure.
My gosh, we're gonna be here all day. Pause. When you say no agenda, I'm asking the audience, no agenda, is that exciting and comforting or threatening?
Oh, it should be exciting and comforting because there's no expectation now. So the networking event's about you.
Right.
It's not about me. All right. I'm just there because remember, I understand who you are. I understand how to motivate them. So what I did was I just put it out there on LinkedIn, and people just show up. And I knew if I took pictures and posted back on LinkedIn, people would go crazy and comment. And there's my FOMO would start. So everybody's like, well, how come I don't know about this? What? So today is the talk of the Twin Cities.
What's it
Everybody talks
Yeah,
about
what
it.
is it called? How can people find it?
It's called Networking with Purpose.
Okay.
It's done every second Tuesday of every month. You can only find it on my LinkedIn profile. I post it. That's the only way you can find it because it's not a group.
And it's a big thing. Okay, so it's only once a month, first Tuesday.
Yeah. I move it around.
That's a huge thing. So one of our last episodes, we were talking about, I'm in BNI.
Yeah.
We all know how I feel about BNI. I don't like it.
No.
And I'm in it. So you said something, and it really, just with what you said, is that there's no expectation.
Right.
That is a huge thing. That is not BNI. B&I, there is an expectation.
Oh, yeah.
Very much so.
A lot of rules.
Yes.
I don't like
So
rules.
many rules.
Not a good rule
I
follower.
love that.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I also just need to take a moment because I've known about this group forever. I have
Yeah,
gone
you
to some
haven't been
before.
either.
And
It's her fault why I've never gone.
This is why. You just said it. It moves around the Twin Cities. So sometimes when it's at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday in Timbuktu, Northwest Minneapolis, this girl can't get up there at 4 o'clock. And that is why I haven't been to some of them, which is great. What Tim is doing is he's moving it around. He's sharing the wealth.
Yeah.
He keeps moving it to different beautiful locations and breweries. But sometimes
Well, it's at Udapils on Tuesday, so
it's actually on my calendar.
I see your name I see your attendant.
I register so that Tim doesn't know that. I was there. You didn't remember seeing it.
Oh, I don't think that would
She
ever
was hiding in
happen.
the corner like normal.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. And then also tied into the networking. So you do something else that I think is really interesting, and maybe if you still do it, is it 2 times a day? You try to have 2 coffee meetings a day, or
Yeah.
so many, the way your schedule is set up,
Yeah.
it's set up so that you're always
I meet
meeting
with 2 people a day. I've done that for 8 years.
either on Zoom or in person.
Probably most of it's on Zoom because I'm on the wrong side of town.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the impetus for that? Like, why?
Why?
Well, so you're marketing people, right?
Yep.
So my brand is you're to know me before you meet me. You're to know me before you meet me. So how do I do that? Meet with 2 people a day, right? And because I'm asking questions,
Yeah.
because remember, I'm verbal, so I'm seeing pictures. I can kind of tell what they're doing, or right.
Yeah.
And then based on all that, I've got, resources, so I help people start a business, help them go fractional. Could be part of Legal Shield. There's just a whole bunch of different reasons why people are coming to
help
me.
people start businesses?
Help people start businesses, right?
Explain, please. What is that? I didn't know that. What's
He
that?
helps people start businesses.
Well,
What does that
what's
mean? Are you like an
fractional?
invasion? An invasion? Are you an angel investor? That's
No,
what
no,
I was
no.
trying to say.
I like invasion.
So if we look at that, fractional world, so I help people figure out what's possible, right? Because a lot of them most everybody I meet with is an executive coming out of corporate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either chose that or didn't choose that. And so I just really have that conversation to talk about what's possible in the world. And that's where a lot of this stuff that comes up. I want to be a speaker.
Yeah.
I love to fly plane, whatever, right? I'm like, well, you could do that. You could do multiple things and
So you
do what you want to do.
You call out the things that people can do,
Right.
and do you help them also figure out a way to do that?
Yeah.
That is
That's
what a
the
fractional
fractional part.
of what that is for
Oh
those.
yeah. So people go, well, I don't want to start a business. And I'm like, well, did I say we should start a business?
Yeah.
So I always tell everybody, words matter. When Mr. John Arms calls me once every month, and the reason he calls, he wants to know who I am, and I go, I'm fantastic. I never say anything different, right?
I love that.
And I always tell everybody, I'll be the most positive person that you're going to talk to today,
Yeah.
because words matter, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So when people say, well, Tim, I don't know if I really want to do this, words matter, right? You're probably right. So you can't do that. So I tell everybody, you have to be the most positive, high energy person at this point in your life, because you have to attract what you're looking for,
Yeah.
right? And you can't do that if you're saying negative things.
It's true.
I love that.
That is so
Now, we
true.
know how this all works. It's
Yep.
pretty simple stuff,
Yep.
but
Okay, but again, that goes back to earlier conversation was it makes sense. It's pretty simple stuff to you, and it
I
makes
know.
sense to you.
I know.
But when you start realizing not
You
everybody
think
lives in this
it's
space,
Like it should just be sitting in your brain. You should just know that all the time. But what I have come across, because I have a couple clients that they do speaking and coaching and stuff like that for sales reps and all that stuff. The amount of times, it doesn't matter how many times you say it, you have to keep pounding it into people for them to even start to really soak it in and really hit home, like really just attached to it.
You know, I also want to go back to fractional for a minute because, again, for any of our listeners or watchers, I think that's a fairly new term. That hasn't. Would you say hasn't that kind of replaced the whole?
I think it's been around, but it's more. I think it used to be more business coach,
or more like
and now it's kind of taken further from that.
CEOs and CFOs have done fractional for a long time. And really until 2018. At that time, the market was probably, there was enough people for people to hire. It was pretty okay. But when the pandemic hit, which we said as soon as the baby boomer generation leaves the market, now you don't have enough people for the small, medium-sized businesses, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So that's where the demand, all of a sudden, people go, yeah, I need a CFO or I need marketing, but I can't hire anybody. I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And that's where all these executives were coming out because truly the org chart has changed for these large corporations from pre-pandemic to now. So you don't need all those executives. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And so now they got to kind of try to figure out what's next. So a lot of them are buying businesses or looking at other things they can do, right?
And you mentioned John Arms, and you and John Arms you guys are really leading. Like you're out there with the fractional right now. Tell us a little bit about that, like what that looks like.
Yeah. Well, so I started speaking on this, being an accidental speaker. I was telling Paula, because when people ask me my training, because she's going through what she does for a speaker, and I'm like, I was embarrassed when people said, "We're going to get my training." I said, well, to be honest, I said I was a tour guide at US Bank Stadium for 5 years.
Really? Wait, how long ago was that?
Really?
When they opened.
Wow.
Up until the pandemic, so whatever that was.
You might
3
have
years,
met my
maybe.
dad then. He did a tour. Well,
Your dad was a tour guide?
no, he did a tour.
Oh.
And my dad is very open and talkative, so I feel like they would have just gotten along. I don't know.
So I had I do 2 to 3 tours a day for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I can so see that.
yeah, so then you gotta entertain, you gotta do all that, and
Yep.
and the issue was it might change every day how the tour where it went. So then you couldn't really go. So somebody that wanted to go memorize it, right? And then you go, oh, by the way, you can't go that way today. You got to go this way. So
Wow.
so that was kind of my training. So I had to get to know 20 people in 5 minutes. Where are you from? What are you doing here? Right? And then I would use that into my,
Yeah.
make sure I didn't have any Green Bay Packer fans. If I did, I had some stuff for them. But
I feel seen.
I'm a Packer fan.
But anyway, yeah, so that was my training to be a speaker.
Okay, so hold on. So fractional. Let's just sit there for a second. So if they're like, hey, that resonates with me. I've thought about being fractional.
Yeah.
What would you say? Where do they go?
Yeah, so that was kind of so a lot of people come to me because they're interested in it, right? And so I'm really just kind of talking about here again what's possible.
Yeah.
And so here again, I can't tell you what to do. You won't do what I tell you anyway.
You're gonna do it.
But I know if I make it simple and easy, so John and I have always done a webinar every month for the last 6 years. What is fractional? So people can come to that and listen and hear other people ask questions. They can come to our networking event because a lot of those people are there. I can introduce you to a lot of those people.
Yeah.
So really, that's how you're going to learn anyway, right? You're going to go talk to other people because that's how it is. Minnesota people want to see it and they want to experience it, right? And that's how you should learn anyway.
Yep.
So I just make things easy for them to do. And I'm a connector, right? At the end of the day.
He's a connector, like
I'm the connector.
human Lego.
Yeah.
Okay, that was just too good. It was just too good. So we couldn't just stop it there. We had to have a part 2, of course, because we just had so many good things from Tim. What do you do when you have the Hufflepuff of networking? Loyal, is somehow everywhere and somehow just knows everybody. So we're going to have Tim come back. So don't worry, there's going to be a part 2 with more laughs, more fun, more golden nuggets for you, or some golden snitches if you like. So stick around. We're going to have Tim coming back for part 2. So let's accio more Tim or something like that.